Wasting money on forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free, then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll save memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll save memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Hello there, it's John here from Tutor to You, and a very warm welcome to you if you are joining us live, and an equally warm welcome to you if you are watching this on replay. We are doing our first GCSE Economics live stream revision blast of 2025, so welcome to you. If you're looking forward to getting involved in these quick fire activities, today of course we are concentrating on elasticities. So if you've not watched one of these revision blasts before for Tutor to You, we've got 4 or 5 quick activities for you, and if you're live we'd love to see your responses through the chat window. If you're watching this on replay, of course you can take your time over some of the questions. I'm joined today by Nicky. Good morning to you, Nicky. How are you?
Good morning everyone. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm imagining quite a number of you are on your Easter break. Perhaps you're coming up to your Easter break, and obviously you're getting yourself ready and prepared for your exam, which is just a few weeks away, of course, isn't it? So let's get cracking with thinking about elasticities. Just before we get into the actual activities, the PowerPoint that Nicky and I are going to be using will be available for you to download as soon as this live stream finishes. So if you want to go through some of the questions again, of course, you can do in your own time. But I think we're ready, Nicky. Shall we get cracking?
I think we're ready. Yes, let's do that.
Brilliant stuff. Now, just a real quick reminder to you, we're going to talk about elasticities. Let's start by reminding ourselves exactly what we mean by that. And we're going to concentrate today on price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply. And elasticities is this concept of looking at the responsiveness to either demand or supply following a change in price. So it's the responsiveness. We know the laws of demand and supply say that as prices go up, demand will go down, supply supply will go up. But by how much? By how much? And that's what elasticities is all about. Now, what we are asking ourselves, of course, as well, is what does that mean? Once we've calculated the responsiveness, and we can describe them in one of two ways, either having an elastic demand, elastic supply, or an inelastic demand and an inelastic supply. And by that we mean if the change in demand and supply is greater than the change in price, then it's elastic. If the change in demand or supply is less than the change in the price, then we'll call it inelastic. So that's just a little bit of a starting point, just to remind us where we're going to. Of course, what you need to know alongside that is how to calculate it, and we've got some calculation questions coming up. And then what causes a product, a good, a service to be either elastic or inelastic in terms of its demand and supply. And so we've got some questions on those factors as well. Let's just start with a couple of true or false questions. 2 or 3 true or false questions, and I'm using this little emoji mechanism here. So if you are watching live and would like to join in with us, we'd love to see some little emojis. So a smiley face if you agree with the statement that's on the screen, or an unhappy face if you disagree with what's on the screen. So here we go. Calculation of price elasticity of demand, PED, will always result in an outcome with a minus. Have a little think about that question just for a moment or two. So if you are watching this live and you want to join in, like I say, do give us a little smile face if you agree with that, or a little frowny face if you disagree. So is that true or is that false? Here we go. Let's have a look. Of course, that is true. What we know is the law of demand and supply says the law of demand says as prices go up, then demand will go down, and vice versa. As prices go down, demand will go up. So what we know is that if we change the price, if our price is a positive number, and we've increased the price, then our demand will be a negative number, and vice versa. So if we decrease our price, then our quantity demanded should go up in almost every single case, which will mean either the top or bottom of our calculation will have a minus number. That means at the end of it we'll always have a minus. Be wary of that one, particularly if you're looking at a elasticity question that's multi-choice. Sometimes they'll give you the positive answer. Sometimes you'll lose marks as well if you forget to put in that minus number. So just be careful of that one. Brilliant. Thank you for those who responded online. That's good to see. Right. A good has a PD of minus 0.4. This good would be considered price elastic. Have a think about that number for a second. I've just said we're always going to have a minus, but if we sort of don't worry so much about the minus, let's think about the 0.4. This good could be considered elastic or not. What do you think? Again, your responses in the chat window would be great. Let's have a look at our answer. That would be false. That would be false. Now, again, we've got that minus number, so let's not try and worry too much about the minus. But we know that if it's less than 1, it will be inelastic. If it's greater than 1, it will be elastic. If it's 1, we call it unitary. So we're looking to find our numbers, and if it's less than 1, then we know it will be inelastic. If it's greater than 1, we know it's elastic, and we can use that as part of our response. Thank you for that. Thank you. Right, time for some MCQ questions, and I'll hand you over to Nicky for a moment or two.
Right, thank you very much, John. Right, so I'm going to take you through 5 multiple choice questions. As we know, these can be quite tricky. So what we're going to do is have a read of this first one, a little bit of application here. Which of these products is likely to have the most inelastic price elasticity of demand? So as listening to what John was saying, we are looking for something that is not going to be particularly sensitive to price changes. Demand will change, but not as much as price is changing. So what do we think of these is the most inelastic? This is testing your knowledge on the determinants of elasticity. So if you don't know the answer to this, or you're not sure, what you need to make a note of is to revise the determinants of elasticity. Right, let's have a look and see which one of those. It is A. peak rail tickets. That's because the people who buy and have to buy those rail tickets at that time are usually going to work. They don't have a choice. So when the price of those rail tickets goes up, they have to pay the higher price. Supermarket branded cola, luxury hotel room, and gold ring are all price elastic products. Okay, let's have a look at question 2. Good Y is said to have a PED of -2. Now remember what John was just saying. If it's PED, it's always minus. We're focusing on the actual number, and that's called the coefficient. So PED of -2. The elasticity of good Y would be described as. So this is a test of who was listening just now. Let's have a look at your answers. Yep, we've got some great answers coming in. So we think this would be described as elastic. It's because that figure, that coefficient, is actually greater than 1. So it's obviously the figure 2, so therefore it's elastic. It's really important to focus on that coefficient. That tells you the size of the change in quantity demanded compared to the size of the change in price. So in this case, the size of the change in quantity demanded was 2 times as big as the size of the change in price. Okay, let's push on. Good said is said to have a PES. Be careful, be careful. Lots of students just read that as PED and blast through the question and get it wrong. It's PES of 0.5. We know it's got to be positive because it's supply. Following a 10% increase in the price, what is likely to happen to quantity supplied of good Z? So remember what I was just saying. The coefficient tells you what happens to quantity compared to what happened to price. So the size of the change will be half the size of the change in price. So using that logic, what do we think the answer would be? We got, oh, look at this. Look at all these fantastic answers flooding in. Well done, you guys. Let's have a look. John, you are spot on. Look at you all. Fabulous. Well done indeed. You are good listeners. Let's have a look at question 4. The demand for a product is more elastic. So this goes back to knowing your determinants of elasticity. So we have to know the higher the degree of habit. Now, if it's a habit, you will tend to keep buying something even when the price goes up. We're looking for something that's sensitive to price. So Will reckon he's jumped straight to D. You are spot on, Will. You are spot on. You get star prize on question 4 of the multi-choice. It is when more substitutes exist for the product. Okay, so you have to know your determinants well. Right, here's another one. This is PES because it's the supply curve. So just be careful. Students forget about PES. What do we think about good B for question 5? Now I've said it's PES, so we can eliminate A and D immediately. Do we think it's B or do we think it's C? So Jasmine has come in with inelastic, and so has Janine. You're spot on. It is inelastic because it is a steep curve and it's inelastic supply. Well done, you guys. That's fabulous. Back to John.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the replies coming in on the chat window. We would love to see a bit more of that. However, I'm getting to the calculation part of this live stream, the really tricky bit. Well, the bit that we know the most amount of students actually struggle with. Just a quick reminder on screen then of the 2 calculations that you'll need to have. So you've got your price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply. We've got a top part of our equation and the bottom part of our equation. And I'm going to give you 3 questions. The easiest question is a question where you've just got to calculate either the PED or the PES. So you just divide one by the other, the quantity demanded or quantity supplied by price, change in price. The tricky bit for you, and you quite possibly will get this, is where you're asked to either calculate the change in quantity demanded or the change in price or change in quantity supplied. So let's have a quick go. And I'm going to put you under a bit of pressure by giving you a time restraint on each of these questions. I'm just going to give you 60 seconds. 60 seconds, a little bit of music in the background for you to do the calculation. So anybody who can manage it in 60 seconds, you're doing really, really well. Remember, in your exam, do take your time a little bit to make sure that you don't make any kind of silly errors. But for today's purposes, let's put ourselves under a little bit of pressure. Here we go with the first question. Calculate the price elasticity demand for good V when following an increase in the price of 5% plus 5. Remember, plus 5, there is a fall in quantity demanded of 8% minus 8. So 60 seconds. I'm going to give you to have a go at that one. Not very long at all. Anybody able to do it in that time, well done to you. Don't forget the minus outcome as well. It's a price elasticity demand calculation. So Jasmine for recognising that. Okay, people, a few more seconds have a go. Last 20 seconds. It's about making sure you've got your calculation the right way around. One to be landed on the top of the equation. Changing the price. Well done to everybody having a go at that. Let's have a look at the answer. And yes, it is minus 1.6. Big shout out to Jasmine for the first person to get that one, I think, there. So there's our equation. Just a reminder of the equation. Price elasticity demand equals percentage change in quantity demanded, which we know is 8%, and percentage change in prices on the bottom of our equation, we know that is 5%. Minus 8 divided by 5 will give us minus 1.6. Right, straightforward that one. So let's have a look at this second one. Like I say, I've got 3 for you today. Good G is said to have a price elasticity of supply of 0.5. Calculate the percentage change in quantity supplied following a change in price of 10%. My 60 seconds has already started. A little bit more complicated now because what we're going to do is rearrange our formula. We've got to rearrange our formula. So we know that PES equals percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. We've got our PES number. We've got our percentage change in price. So what are we looking at here? A few more seconds. Wonderful to see some answers coming in. Thank you. A few more seconds. Have a look at this one. Time pressure plus a little bit of music pressure in the background. So let's have a look at the answer. Well done to those of you having a go at that. Yes, we've got a percentage change in quantity supplied of minus 5%. So we know that if we've got a decrease in our price of 10%, we'll also see a change. We've got our calculation rearranged for you on the screen there. Percentage change in quantity supplied, percentage change in price, 0.5. Percentage change in quantity supplied divided by minus 10. Multiply both sides then. We've got 0.5 times minus 10, which gives us that minus 5. Okay, one more to go. A necessity good is said to have a PED of 0.8. Price elasticity demand of 0.8. Calculate the percentage change in price that must have taken place if the quantity demanded for the good decreased minus by 10%. 60 seconds have started. So again, a little bit of rearrangement of that formula required. So my point to you is this, that in your exam, you may get a straightforward calculation question when you put your percentage change in quantity demanded, percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price, but you may also have to do that bit of rearrangement. Thank you to the responses coming in the chat. Moments on this one. How are we doing? Will's coming there, Jasmine as well, thank you to you three. Okay, let's have a look at our answers. Yeah, with 12.5%. So 0.8 equals minus 10 divided by percentage change in price. Minus 10 divided by 0.8 will give us that 12.5%. Tricky stuff, tricky stuff. That's the most tricky stuff I think you do with elasticities, is that calculation. So be ready for that one. I'll hand back over to Nicky though.
Right, now we're going to have a look at the bubble quiz. We've got 4 questions here. If you haven't come across a bubble quiz before, you have to be careful. It's a question at the top will come up, and there's 4 possible answers. Now, it's not a multiple choice. It can have more than one correct answer. It can be all the answers are right, or it could be just one, or it could even be 0. So I want to know in the chat if you tell me the correct responses. So you might think B and D, for example. So pop B and D in the chat. Okay, here we go. Which of these factors would make a good more inelastic in its supply? So be careful, we're on supply again. And we want something that makes it inelastic. So what does that mean? It means that this product finds it hard to respond to market price changes. It's not easy to just supply more, just very, very quickly. We want to know which of these things will make it harder to supply more. So Jacob's straight in there with B and D. You think it's difficult for the firm to change from labour using labour to capital. You are spot on. B is correct. A isn't correct because, of course, over a long period of time makes it much easier to respond to market price changes. C isn't correct because that makes it easy to change. So, Jacob, you were spot on. Janine, fantastic. Jasmine, just be careful. It's not A. That makes it more elastic in supply. Well done. Let's have a look at bubble quiz number 2. Which of these is true for a good which is highly price elastic? So again, your determinants of demand. So we've already had a question earlier. We know A is correct. So which other ones might be correct? Let's have a think. Now, if it's a really small proportion of your income, say a box of matches, and it even doubles in price, are you going to be that bothered? Probably not. That makes it price inelastic if it's a low proportion. But which of those other ones might mean that a good is highly price elastic? Jasmine thinks it's A and C. I think A and C is correct, but there is another one, and it is D. The answer here is A, C, and D. You do need to have a think about what happens to revenue when you have different elasticities. So again, note to self, maybe just tuck a note somewhere and say, that needs a bit of revision. Well done, Will. You are on fire today. Which of these components are components of the formula of PED? Now, everyone should be able to get that. We've just been looking at that with John, haven't we? So this is your nice, easy, we're coming to the end of today's live stream. What do we think? Let's have a look. Which ones are components of the formula? It's A and D. So everybody should be getting that. Well done. We're on to our last question. Which of these goods are likely to be highly elastic in their supply? Note to self, it's supply. So we want something to make these products. Which of these is going to be highly elastic? So just think about it. How long do grapes take to grow? A very long time. So if market price changes next week, we can't suddenly have more grapes. Think along those lines. Jasmine, have a little think again about A. Do you really think it's grapes? They take a long time to grow. Which ones of those can we respond pretty quickly next week, next month, and have more of? So let's have a look and see what the answer is, John. It is just pizza, because everything else would be fairly inelastic. It's difficult to respond to a market price change. Back to John.
Well, back to both of us, Nicky.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Well done to everybody who took part today, who's gone through some of these questions. Massive thank you to anybody who actually put their responses in the chat window. That's always very useful for us to know and see what your thoughts are. A quick reminder that the questions that we've been using as part of this PowerPoint will be available to you as soon as this live stream finishes. And we're back again, Nicky, aren't we, on Thursday
We
morning
are.
at 11 o'clock again. This time we'll concentrate on something a bit more macro-based with the government economic policies. So if you found today useful, do give us a thumbs up, by the way, in YouTube. That always helps get our message out there to more and more people. But if you have found today useful, hopefully you'll find Thursday useful. And we're going to be back again, of course, next week as well, Tuesday and Thursday, to do a couple more live streams there as well. Thank you again. Thank you very much to Nicky for joining me today. And we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Goodbye, everybody.
See you soon. Bye.